It feels really good to be back in Dubai,
Woohoo.
recording for the first time again with Isra. Isra, good to see you.
Good to see you, Jamil.
It's been 4 months and a half since I've been traveling and recording with people around the world. And finally, we're back with a guest that I've wanted to have on the podcast for a really long time. And I'm so happy she's here with us, Dina Butti.
Okay. And I'm so excited to be part of your reunion, guys. Thanks for the chips and all the snacks. Very well hooked up over here.
Sourced from the Middle East.
Yes.
Only.
Yes. I feel like I came to hang out with the right crew.
Nice.
Beautiful.
We're excited to have you. What a great reunion day it is, you know? Jamil, good to have you. Dina, good to have you. Nice to meet you. Welcome to my home.
All right, the story. Go.
Storytelling.
Okay, so I was trying to think of a story that I wanted to share. And the number one question I always get asked is, how did you become a TV presenter? And I get asked this, and sometimes it's a compliment, and sometimes I feel like people eye me up and down, and they're like, why you? And thanks, guys.
It depends on where they put the emphasis. Like, how did you
that's
become
true,
a TV
that's
presenter?
true.
It also depends on when they see me and how done up I am and all that.
Like, what other way could they ask, why you?
So, and I was trying to think of, okay, so for as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a TV presenter. I was really young. I'd see women on TV, talk show hosts, and I'd be like, how exciting to have that privilege to interview people who were making a difference in this world, to be in that position of power. Nice. And that was something that even I think as a 6-year-old, I recognized and I always wanted or was excited about. But I've got to mention something. As a 6-year-old and growing up, I was very shy and very awkward. I was born in Greece and I moved all around the world. Every 2 years, I was moving. And I think I was trying to remember the first time that I really changed or something made a huge impact on my life, and that was personal development. And yes, I know you guys are going to think that sounds super, super cheesy, but my grandma, hi Nene, she's 99 years old.
Shout out Nene.
She must be listening for sure.
You know, she's actually pretty hooked up. Yeah, she's down with it. She answers me on WhatsApp.
Nice.
So she gave me this series of books called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And I think I was 10 years old or 12 years old at the time. And I definitely did sweat the small stuff at the time. And that's how I started getting into personal development. At the time, I was overweight, very frizzy hair. I don't think anyone considered me attractive except my parents, who thought I was the cutest thing in the world. And again, very shy. And I started reading all these personal development books and started thinking about, how do I become the person that I want to be or the person that I admire?
At 10?
Yes. Well, 12. Let's say at this point in 12.
That's still pretty like...
I wouldn't say I was the smartest book-wise.
Okay.
Like academics, I wasn't the brightest at the time. But that, again, was something I achieved through personal development. But I became very, very goal-oriented from a very young age.
Whoa.
So how do I take all these things into my control? And I think at the time I was like, I know at the time I was obsessed with, Kurt Cobain, and I was into Metallica, and I was into this alternative or metal music. And a lot of it was depressing, and I wanted to kind of brighten up. Well, I think I was depressed about Kurt Cobain committing suicide.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, back to this. So personal development. So yes, from a very, very young age, started thinking about how I could become this person that I admired so much. Because I'm like, why do I have to admire someone else? Why can't I have those qualities myself?
Did you have a specific person in mind when you thought of this?
I mean, I want to say at the time, growing up, I probably really admired Oprah.
Oh, damn, yes.
I mean, I'm
Oprah.
not really feeling her at the moment.
Yeah,
Why isn't she speaking about Gaza? I don't understand.
No good now,
This
no
is
good.
a different... Yeah, I know I'm jumping all over the place here,
No,
guys,
but
yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
I
Growing
love
up,
Oprah, and
Oprah
Oprah's
was...
kind of devastated me right now. So shame on you, Oprah. Anyway.
She's listening for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So... Yeah, I think every year that passed, and remember, I was moving every 2 years, and it was always an opportunity for me to reinvent myself. So I went from being this really shy girl to being like, hey, I think when I moved to Cairo, to Egypt, and it was the first time I was going to live there, and I am Egyptian originally, I was like, this is my opportunity. I'm going to reconnect with my homeland. I'm going to be this really outgoing person. I'm going to be really honest. I'm going to say what I think. And I'm going to look, I think at the time I was really focused on improving my appearance, which took me much, much longer in life. And in terms of my fitness journey, you're looking at me like, what do you mean by that? I mean, it being healthier, losing some of that, baby fat and so forth. But yeah, over the years, I became such a goal-oriented person. It was very much about writing down the goals, what I wanted to achieve, having a plan, holding myself accountable, announcing my plans, because when you tell everyone, hey, I'm planning on doing this, then people hold you accountable, right? I'm going to eat healthier when you're stuffing chips down your throat. Like, people will be like, are you? Yeah. They're looking at you, right? Whatever it is. So
you got to put your back against the wall to make those changes.
And I think another one was like, it was like all this, I don't want to say manifesting because I hate when people say it, but I'm like, I don't hate it, but it's not my thing. But I think also visually seeing my goals so that I was remembering every day, do one thing that brings you closer to achieving your goals. So anyway, I did become a lot more of an outgoing version of myself. I grew up. I studied a lot more about communications and television, and I went to university and studied journalism and TV. And when I came to graduate, I was like, cool, this is my moment. I was in Montreal at the time. I was obsessed. You guys know what Much Music is?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I was like, that's my dream job. I'm going to go
VJ.
for it. I stalked the hell out of them. Didn't get a single response. Thank you, Much Music. I pretty much applied to, I think, 5 or 6 different networks in Canada. Didn't receive a single response. So I don't think I was worthy of even a rejection at the time. I was worthy of it, but I didn't receive one. Do we need to stop?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
No, we're good.
You can't hear the other.
No.
I apologize.
And I finally got an internship at a Canadian broadcasting channel. I was super excited. I'm like, this is it. This is going to be my
that's
moment.
Huge.
And my mom got breast cancer. And I needed to go take care of her. So I canceled the internships that I had.
Where was your mom?
She was in Dubai. She had just moved to Dubai.
Okay.
Well, actually, she was in Bahrain, then she came to Dubai. But I canceled these internships, obviously really upset about it.
Yeah, that must be heartbreaking.
Yeah, because I felt like I was like, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But yeah, family takes priority. So I came here to take care of my mom. And I was like, cool, Dubai's just starting. I can, figure this out. So I walked into, do you guys remember City 7, which was in TV at the time?
Was it also what became One TV? Dubai One?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Nothing to do with
I
that.
retract my statement.
You don't know City 7?
City 7? No.
So there was a
How
channel.
long ago was this?
This would have been like 2005.
Okay.
Tell us about it.
So I had heard that there was a channel called City 7. And I was like, I need to internship there. I need to get an internship there. I walked in. They weren't responding to emails. I walked in. They said, we do not have an internship program. You can talk to the boss, who was too busy to talk to me. I came for 3 days straight and sat on the couch the entire day until someone acknowledged me and listened to me. And I was like, hey, guys, I'm here. I'll be your assistant. I will work for free. I just want experience on a TV station.
But can I ask, what is it that drew you to City 7? Like, why was it City 7 that you wanted?
It didn't have to be City 7. I just found out where their offices were. Mm-hmm. And I needed an in. I'm like, I need somewhere to start.
Okay, you felt like you get in.
And like, remember, this is me at, how old was I then? Like 18, 19 years old, right? 20 years old. You're not that confident, right? Like, you don't exactly know. I'm not hooked up. I don't know anything about Dubai. I'm like coming here for the 2nd, 3rd time. I still felt like a kid, and I didn't have a resume. And I was just like, hey, I really want to get some experience under my belt. And all I had were these personal development books that kept being like, it's all about consistency. It's all about being determined. Don't take no for an answer. Keep showing up. Tell people that you work for free, that, whatever. And that's one of the best pieces of advice I got. the work that you do for free in the beginning will be like invaluable for you, like on your CV in terms of experience and so forth.
Yeah.
So I showed up. Finally, they gave me an internship. They're like, well, if you're just going to show up, then fine. Go. They didn't know what to do with me. I was like, I'm just going to follow these people around. I just kept asking people if I could follow them around. So I followed this crew around.
Sorry, before we jump forward, the moment where they told you, okay, you can be in the office, like who told you that? And
I think it was like the channel manager, but he was just like, it wasn't like, he was like, sure, like, let's make it official. Let's get your name down. He was like, okay.
you kept nagging on him, and he's just like, all right,
It's like this,
whatever.
This
Leave
little,
me alone.
I mean, I'm not so little. I'm a tall girl, but you know, like I was very young and just like overly excited by this channel. If you remember, City 7 is not necessarily that exciting, but it was very understaffed. There's a lack of budget, a lot of things.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just so excited to be around people who were on TV. That was just exhilarating for me. So yeah, I found this one reporter who was really nice, and he was like, sure, you can come follow us around. So I would just go and I would just stand and watch. I was like, I'll learn. And then at one point, I want to say a couple of weeks in, one of the reporters got sick and they desperately needed someone to report.
No
Shut
way.
up.
Okay.
Put me
Wow.
on screen. Now, I will tell you, I did not do the best job, but considering I had never been on TV, it was okay.
Whoa, that's an amazing break, though. Like,
Yeah.
just like that? They didn't have anyone?
But that's the thing, right? If you work hard enough and consistently enough and you're there in the right opportunity will present itself eventually,
Yeah.
and you'll be there to grab it,
Yeah.
right? To say,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Absolutely.
For
Nice.
free. I will work my butt off.
Do you still have the video of that?
the reel?
'Cause
I do have that somewhere. Oh, I should pull it up.
You should really do that. You should really do that.
So yeah, I used that reel that same summer. Do you remember Viva magazine? I don't know how long you guys
Yes.
have been
Yeah,
here. So
I remember
I then
that.
used that to go work at Viva magazine, which also seemed exciting to me. And from Viva, I found out that CNN Arabia also existed in Dubai.
Wow.
And I found someone who knew someone who then they actually did have an internship program, but I didn't know anything about politics. So I was like, no way they're going to let me in. They did. But I went and did a test. I was very energetic and enthusiastic. I had my little reel from City 7 or in TV at the time. So I was able to be like, look, I've been on TV a few times. I'm doing reports. I did know how to edit to a certain extent. So they were amazing. I worked with them, I want to say, for a summer and maybe a summer. And then the following Christmas break, I came in. I was like, hey, guys, if you need me for anything, like, I'm around. And at that point, I had gone and I used to be very excited. But sometimes I got to be the person holding the mic. So you see my hand on screen. I know that sounds ridiculous to people, but you have no idea how exciting it was for me to be the hand.
Right? Yeah.
So again, personal development, being persistent. I kept showing up, staying in touch with them. And when I came to visit my parents the following break, an opportunity came up and they were just like, hey, we actually have the Dubai Film Festival. Would you like to go? Because we don't have a reporter available tonight and we need someone on the red carpet to maybe grab a few interviews. And I'm thinking, nobody's going to stop for me, right? Like this little girl on the red carpet who doesn't know what she's doing. They're like, honestly, any sound bites you get, we will take. Because we don't have any, we need to be able to say that we covered the film festival.
Right, true.
So
Okay.
it doesn't matter what you say, we'll get the sound, like the celebrities will sound decent and we'll get a few sound bites. I went, and what I was not expecting, because I'd never been on a red carpet before, A. B, I had never held a CNN mic on a red carpet. I didn't realize that the celebrities would come to me, and they did. So all the biggest like A-list Arab celebrities, from Yusra to, oh my goodness, I can't even remember who it was now. I need to pull up that report. It was endless.
Wow.
And remember, I was trying to ask these people questions in Arabic. Thank God they weren't using my questions. And at the time, my Arabic must have been so much worse than it is now. But I was probably like, hi, تبتعملوا إيه هنا في, you know, like I didn't know what to say.
What are you doing here?
But you know, they're gonna sound great, right? So they're gonna cut me out, as you know, they're gonna edit me out. So as long as, but I think these celebrities I was interviewing were so amused by who's this young girl who doesn't know how to speak Arabic, who's holding a CNN mic, and I think they looked so amused in the footage because it was hilarious.
Right.
And I was very, I won't say charming, but I was very enthusiastic. So I think they were very, very sweet. That also happened to be the night my first big celebrity interview was George Clooney. And
Damn.
What?
I know.
That's huge.
I know. And you have to remember this whole time I'm like taking care of my mom, going through chemotherapy, like going through some like really difficult times and still being like, I'm going to pursue my goals, going to pursue my dream, personal development books.
Yeah.
But yeah, so George Clooney was my first big interview, like, which is absolutely insane. But
How did that come about?
because I was standing there holding a CNN mic.
And he just walked over.
He did. And at the time I would say I wasn't a massive George Clooney fan, but he was so charming and so funny that he really won me over. I mean, everyone knows that about George Clooney now. At the time, I don't think people recognized just how charismatic and lovely and warm he was. He was incredible. So I want to say that experience changed everything for me. And it reminded me yet again, you know, go talk to people. You never know who's going to say yes. You never who's going to say no. So at that point, anytime I was anywhere and I would see a camera crew, I'd just go speak to the producer. Hey, where do you work? Oh, you work at OSN. Great. Oh, can I talk to you? Can I get your email? Oh, hey, you work here. And then I found out MTV Arabia was opening. So I really wanted to be a TV presenter. I went and did an interview, didn't get a call back. Then I found other people at MTV Arabia the following year. Went and was called in for a casting. And the whole time I was speaking to the person who was doing the casting, the call was in English. And then I showed up and the casting turned out to be in Arabic.
Oh, man.
Oh, God. Whoever has that tape, that will by far be the most embarrassing footage of my life. Hi, أنا اسمي, because Dina El Gamal is my maiden name. So I'm like, hi, أنا اسمي Dina El Gamal, أنا مصرية. I'm sure I was like, everything sounded like a question mark. You know? Like they're like, are you sure? Are you checking in with us? It was awful. Funnily enough, they actually did contact me again because they thought that people would think it was hilarious. One of the guys there who became one of my friends, I still don't know if he was fully serious or not, but he said he actually thought it would be really funny for me to be on the show, get somebody who speaks Arabic perfectly, and then me be like the person who doesn't, and how funny it would be to hear me speak, you know, Arabic Mkassar, broken
Really?
Arabic. And wasn't there a guy, by the way, on Fatafit who like spoke, by the way, broken Arabic and everyone fell in love with? This is like several years ago.
I don't
Am
know.
I making the story up?
Possibly.
But yeah, I definitely said no because I wasn't ready to be laughed at. But
You said no?
I said, I still don't know if he was being serious or not.
Okay.
But I did ask if they had I did ask if they had a position available as a production assistant, this, that. So when I graduated, I applied there and I managed to get a job. That was my first job there. So, and eventually I joined a magazine. And while I was at the magazine, the entire time I'd heard about Dubai One TV. Now, growing up in Egypt, not growing up the last, high school years, I kept seeing presenters on Dubai One television. And Dubai One TV in Egypt was big at the time. So I was like, I've got to work there one day. So when I moved to Dubai, I was like, oh, I gotta find my way into this Dubai One TV. And every time I'd send an email, every time I'd send a CV, I wouldn't get a response. Rejection became very, very comfortable. And again, that's so much my husband always teases me about, because I say personal development. He goes, you mean self-help? I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm just improving, being a best version of myself that I can be. So
I think it's beautiful that you had this drive going for this thing, and like nothing will stop you. And not a lot of people, I think, have that and like go for it as hard as you're going for it. And it's inspirational in a way. And I want to ask you, where do you think that comes from? Where is that coming from, this drive?
I think that people often don't have the luxury, or whether it be because they've never thought about it or they've not necessarily interested, but they don't have the luxury of knowing what they want. I think if you actually sit there and think about what you want and what would actually be good for you and what would make you happy, and humans, I think we can be a little arrogant sometimes, because I think sometimes the things we want aren't necessarily the things that are good for us. And every time I pray to God, I say, don't give me the things I pray for. Give me the things that would be good for me, you know? But I do really, and again, I think so much of this is that personal development journey, which is like sitting there thinking about who you want to be, why you want to be that. Why do you actually admire that person or this profession or whatever it is? What is it about it that excites you? Is it feasible? How could you actually, you know, spending the time to think about that? But that's me with everything. That's when I thought about who I wanted to marry. Like, I'm like, you know, who you marry is such a massive part of your happiness in life and your satisfaction in life. It was so important. Like, I broke it down and I studied marriage for so long, and I had this huge list of things that had to, like, that were required. And, you know, people would say when you come to get married, like, don't have a checklist, because, you know, maybe that person won't. They're not going to, no one's going to take off all those boxes.
Of them. Right, right. What do you say to them?
I found a man who ticked all the boxes. Poor guy. Sometimes he doesn't want to tick the boxes, and I'm like, oh, you will tick it.
That's funny. What's his name?
Omar.
Omar. Shout out
Who I
Omar.
met, by the way. Oh, he comes into the story.
Oh, okay. We're getting there.
Oh, okay,
Getting
okay.
there.
So, Dubai One TV. I kept showing up to their castings. First time it was like someone my dad knew, and it was like a favor. I came in, totally embarrassed myself, never heard back. Then I got better. Because every time you go, you learn what the process is. And it is intimidating.
True.
You're going into a room. You don't know what they're going to ask you. Everyone's eyeing you up and down. And I will say over the years, I have learned, and I'm doing air quotes right now, to look more like a TV presenter. You know, they want thicker hair. They want you to be leaner. They want they want you to be a bit more bold in how you dress, and everything just a bit more flattering. I don't think at the time I had that down, if that makes sense. And I like that about myself, because I'm not that girl, but you know. Anyway, every time I'd show up, I'd be like, okay, next time I need to wear heels. Okay, next time let me wear a more sophisticated dress. Like, I need to get my foot through the door. Nice. I must have gone through a million castings. Every time I'd show up, and it was like the eyes would roll like, oh God, it's this girl again. Eventually I was properly rejected. It was like, it wasn't going to happen for me. But I found out that they needed a researcher on one of the shows. And I was like, if I become a researcher, that gets me closer to becoming a presenter. So I did. So I became a researcher.
You'll know exactly what they want.
Yeah,
and what they
but by
look
the
for.
way, at the time I was pretty good at writing and researching, and it was still exciting for me to be on set and so forth. But I was sitting there always talking to the presenters. I was like, how am I going to do it? But even while I was working as a researcher, I kept showing up to the castings. And at one point, someone took me aside and said, Dina, you can't keep showing up to the castings. And I was like, no, but every time I come, I get a little bit better. And it was like, it straight up said, it's not like, wait, here, I've got the quote. Some people have it and some people don't. You don't.
Oh.
And I cried.
That's
and then,
brutal.
And then I said, actually, I think I do. It's like, I've decided I do. Eventually, I got to that point. It was like, I still think I do. So I worked there for 2 years, and I did a really good job, I want to say. And I enjoyed myself researching and writing. And it was maybe a year in, that I was working. And this amazing producer, who, by the way, is my producer right now, coincidentally, for the show I'm working on, Reem Al-Houni, she was like, took me aside once and was like, I know you really want to be a presenter. You've got a full-time job as a researcher. But if you want to work an extra job, you're not going to get paid for it for free. It's going to be a lot more work. but it means that every week you'll come on to the show for 1 or 2 minutes as like a city scout, and you'll talk about the exciting things that happen. She's like, I've got that opportunity for you. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. So I did all this extra work for free in addition to the one that I was doing. And yeah, it eventually led me to a position. I wish I had this story where I could say I was discovered and it was like this beautiful, like
big
break. And and I got it. And, but it wasn't, I got that position. And then at one point there was a reporter position. So I kind of became the reporter there. Then I, eventually like filled in for some of the presenters. And then I became a co-host. And I should say my first day of that job is where I met my husband, who was also a TV presenter at the time.
First day of your job?
First day of work. Okay. I met that guy and I was like, I am going to marry him. He did not feel like that way about me. It took him a while. It took him a while to see, it's because he needs more personal development. But
that's
he
true.
didn't know what he was looking for.
Yeah, he didn't write up his boxes.
Yeah, he didn't know what his checklist was. He was all over the place.
Nice.
But yeah, so it's interesting, I think it's a part of life and also just media, but it's not necessarily like you get your big break and then you're just there. You're not just there. You're like constantly like fighting for that position or whatever it is. It is a very competitive industry. And, I think at the time when I was looking around, most of the presenters there were such beautiful girls. And like some of these girls are like my closest friends now, but they were so classically, traditionally pretty. They had the long, straight blonde hair. At the time, I still have very frizzy, curly hair. I didn't really know how to manage it. I still don't think I was very fit. There was a lot of things there, which to me, it felt like it was very important for them. And I kept being like, it shouldn't be that important because I'm not going to be the pretty, smooth girl who doesn't stutter and just is always like really sexy and on point and like, that's not me. I'm the girl next door, and I need to look more like the girl next door, and I'm going to act like the girl next door, and I'm not going to necessarily always be cool.
True. Yeah.
And be in my like tight fitted dresses, and I think a lot of it has appeared over the years, but kind of finding your place in that world and allowing people to see you in that light. And it's been really nice, but back and forth. And for many years, I didn't present after having kids, and ever since Expo, that same woman, Rima Al-Houni, reached out to me and she started a show. We all reunited, many of the presenters that were there then. And now I'm on a show called DXB Today.
Cool.
With 13 other presenters and many of them from, presenters that I've known now for 14 years. So it's pretty amazing. But
So do you feel like you've made it, or you're still like, is there another goal that you're setting for yourself?
Does anyone ever feel like they've made it?
Well, that's the thing. I feel like if anyone says they've reached there, that's where you start tipping off, because you need to always be striving for the next thing, right?
So here's my thing. I think from the outside, when I say, I'm a TV presenter, and again, I think this is why I always get asked that question. How did you become a TV presenter? Everyone assumes like it is this like very exciting Hollywoodish story. And, it's your big break and you get paid well. I will easily say that I'm a freelancer now, so I do voiceovers and I MC and I do social media campaigns and lots of shopping lives and stuff like that. And I can't explain to you how little I get paid to be on TV compared to the other jobs that I get. Like it honestly is not very well compensated, which I think is different than what everyone assumes because it seems so glamorous.
Because it is glamorous.
And I used to think like, ooh, if I do hair and makeup and like there's such I can't imagine someone like having to get me an outfit and going for fittings. Like all that sounded so glamorous to me. And don't get me wrong, because I absolutely love TV, but I just think from the outside it feels, from the inside it's very different than what it looks like on the outside. Because now I hate the hair and makeup. It's the worst part. I hate having to approve my wardrobe. I hate having to go for, like, I just can't be, it seems like I just want to be sitting on the couch talking to somebody like you guys, you know?
Right.
That's the exciting part. Having those conversations, going and exploring new places, getting to review them, going on red carpets. I mean, I think the highlight for me was that I got to go to LA and go cover the Oscars in 2014. That was like a very crazy moment in my life.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, there were all these celebrities, because I was always really excited by celebrities in entertainment and you know, the film and television industry. So I got to interview some of the biggest A-listers in the world. And that's pretty amazing. And I think at one point, Dubai One TV shut down all production. It happened to be the week after I found out I was pregnant with our first son.
Oh, wow.
And remember, my husband's working there too. So it was like a big thing for us. You're like, oh, I finally have my life under control. This is what I planned. And, you know, God just sometimes is kind of laughing. Don't make plans. This is not what I want for you. But yeah, I think, you know, I technically lost my job along with everyone else. And no one knew I was pregnant at the time, but I was like, who in the world is going to hire me now while I'm pregnant? There weren't any other television opportunities here. And also I was about to grow a bump and obviously then go on maternity leave. I'm like, didn't seem the most enticing, I assumed. But I would never have started all the social media stuff, right? I would have never been like, oh, I'm going to create and produce my own videos. But sorry, I know I've rambled on. Your initial question, do I feel, yes, I feel like I've achieved my dream. This was like a very, very big goal for me. And there was a few things I really wanted to achieve in my life. And this was one of them. I really wanted a happy marriage. That was one. And this was another. And I wanted to be fit. And I know I've talked about appearances because I was criticized so much for my appearances growing up. And it was very important to me, not that I look a certain way, but that I'm healthy and that I feel fit and I'm not out of breath and that I can keep up with my kids and all that. So those were three big goals.
Well, yeah, how you feel in your body turns into like how you feel in your head as well.
Yeah. And, you know, I can tell, you know, you work out. I'm not.
I play football.
Look at me like,
yeah.
like I'm hitting on you right now.
You know, I bench press.
No, but do you ever feel like, it's the same question. Do you ever feel like this is it? Like I have the body that I want? No, right? You're always like, once you reach one chapter, you're like, 100%. I think the more you go into it, the more you're like, oh, there's so much more to this. Like I think the deeper you get into it, the more you realize you can. But that you've got to explore. But I think for me, I was like, I've interviewed celebrities. I know what that moment feels like. I've experienced that, you know, I've had a billboard up. Like how cool to get to show my kids my face on a billboard, you know? Cool. I know my friends don't have these same desires that I do. They're in very different worlds. But for me, I always knew that was going to be something very exciting to get to show my kids and for them to be on TV with me and for me to get to take my kids to work when you do these social media campaigns and all this stuff. It's like very, very exciting. So yes, I do. I feel very content in that sense. Do I feel like I've accomplished it all? Of course not. I'm on a local channel that, you know, I mean, I don't necessarily want more though, because if you always want more, you're never going to be happy, right? I mean, no, it's good to be motivated. So this is all sounding very confusing.
You're also in a good place.
I'm in a good place. Yeah. I feel
there's a balance. There's a balance between being content and being motivated to strive for more, right? And you got to be somewhere in the middle.
I think, like, you know, I mentioned my grandma in the beginning who gave me these personal development books, and that's because she's really into this stuff as well. And she's 99 years old, and she has, honestly, she has more friends than I do. And she's surrounded by so many people. And I think about her because what is the secret to success in life? And she's mastered so much of that, which I think is some of the wisdom that she was trying to impart on me. And like, and I think about that. And one of them is that you do always want to be running after creating new goals and trying to pursue them because that keeps you motivated, inspired in life. If you feel like you've done it all, then you know, there's not that much to look forward to. It's just that your priorities shift. Like I'm a mom now, you know, I spent so much of my time and energy last week just trying to make sure my son's birthday was everything he wanted it to be, you know, staying up at night, you know, crafting goodie bags. And So yeah, that's shifted, but I definitely have new goals all the time.
Cool.
Me,
Take
hello
us.
me, I have a question too.
Oh, go for it.
والله جميل هوج على الآخر. What would you say to your 12-year-old self about the goals that you've accomplished? Like, what would you say to yourself as a 12-year-old?
Keep going. You'll prove them wrong. I think I had moments when I was that age. I was very, very depressed because it's hard. Everyone says they want to be younger. They want to be younger. And I'm like, I would never. I'm about to turn 40 next month. And I want to say something even about my 30s, which is growing up really isn't easy. And just even this last decade of my life, people say, oh, your 30s are so exciting. And I used to think when you turn 40, like life is over, like that's it, you're old. And I feel like there's so much pressure on us. In your 30s, you're expected, to find your job and establish yourself and get married and have kids and save money and buy a house and all this stuff. It's just insane, an insane amount of pressure to put on one person or a family, whatever, in that amount of time. And I feel like as a kid, it's daunting to not know your place in the world and who you are and be trying to figure yourself out and to be dealing with very adult things with your own parents and your own families. I dealt with a lot of deaths growing up. Even at that age, it was very difficult. And I think I was very insecure. And I'm very proud of that 12-year-old me, though, who was, stuck with her values and was very determined. And I'm so proud of myself for having had a dream, because it's so nice to be able to say, oh, hey, I pursued my dream and I achieved it. Big or small, whoever's listening, it doesn't really matter, right? If you have a goal and you feel like, oh, I got to take part in that, and I got to, if that 12-year-old me could look at me now and being like, you traveled and you got to be on red carpets and you met massive celebrities and you got to be interviewed on a podcast.
Yeah.
The podcast.
Leaving the best for last. You were telling us a story about when you started your social media page, and during that time, you want to dive deeper into that?
Yeah. So I think it's funny because I think Jim had mentioned this to you once, which is sometimes I have a lot of faith. I don't believe in coincidences. Everything's meant for a reason. I believe in having faith in God's plan, and it was. When I lost my job, first of all, we were trying to get pregnant for a while. And so when we finally found out we were pregnant, we were ecstatic. It's all happening. I found the man I wanted to marry. We got married.
It's all fitting together.
Yeah, we're both it's all coming together. Exactly. Yeah. It's all coming together. I, at that time, was co-hosting for a celebrity show. And I was like, this is it. All that hardship, all that work, all that whatever, it's all coming together. And then suddenly my husband and I were both at home, pregnant. OMG, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think at that moment, I first of all was really depressed because it felt like I didn't know if I was ever going to be on television again. And I didn't know if I was ever going to be on television for many years, which really made me sad. I'm so glad that I am again on television. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I was like, well, what are my skills? How can I take control of the situation? How can I, yet again, create an opportunity? So this same producer who I've mentioned actually brought us together, and we started brainstorming all these different ideas. Meanwhile, we did some projects together, but meanwhile, social media had started to pick up, and I had started to post while I had been presenting on this entertainment show. So I was like, I kind of got a couple thousand followers, can do something here. And I started thinking about what I could do as a mother if I had my kid. So I started creating pregnancy videos. I think I sent out 100 emails to brands, mommy brands and family brands, before I got a yes. I think the first yes was from Baby Shop. Love you, Baby Shop. And all of them were like, hey, I'm a TV presenter. I've done this. I've done that. I know how to make videos. I'm going to start creating baby family videos on social media. At the time, blogs were the thing. Videos had not yet. It was all, and blogs were a thing. And also, do you remember all the Pinterest videos on Instagram? Those were really like the really manicured, like, you know, photoshopped, face-tuned. That was a thing. Videos were not popular. So I kept sending them videos that I had edited and put together, and Baby Shop were the first to be like, yeah, we'll give it a go. So they hired me, and we did a video, which they shared and used. At the time, I did something with Mom's World. We did like a series, but I think the ongoing theme of all of my career is rejection.
Right?
I can't explain to you how many times I was rejected.
Tell me about it. Every girl I try to approach.
Oh, whoa, that needs its own podcast. No, but but by the way, that's another question I get. Like, I get so many moms who come up to me like, I really tried and I can't get followers, and I'm like, really? Like, how long have you been trying for? And by the way, unless it's like someone who went seriously viral, it's always the same story. And
True.
I have like 40-something thousand followers, which, yes, is a big number of followers, but I've also been doing this for like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Every single day. At the time when I started, I remember, I think the first video I did, I got paid, I want to say like 500 dirhams was the first time I got paid for a video, and I spent maybe 6 hours filming it, like a week editing it. Like everything just took forever for me to make this 30-second video that I was very proud of, and I didn't even care to get paid. I wanted, it was a transactional thing where I wanted to be like, I will be compensated. I will turn this into career.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's very persistent.
And then the more you practice, those 6 hours become 5 hours, and then they become 4 hours because you're just getting better at it.
Yeah, and you know what it is? Again, it's the working for free. In the same way I worked for InTV, and I worked for, Viva Magazine, and then I worked for CNN. And every time you do that, that's something you get to slap onto your resume.
Absolutely.
When Rolling Stone started, I offered to write a couple of seriously tiny reviews, but I was like, I get to say that I was published by Rolling Stone, and I did, right? Guess what went on my resume? You print those logos really big in the beginning.
That's true.
But yeah, when I started, even when I wasn't getting paid or it was a barter deal, I got to be like, well, here's a video I made for Johnson's, and here's a video I did for Baby Shop, and here's a video I did. And at the time, the more you do that, they're like, well, that brand's pretty big, or, oh, okay. And then it picked up from there, and videos did eventually become popular. And I would love to be able to say like, I'm huge now. I'm not. I'm very slowly growing, but I make a steady income from the social media campaigns in that world. And I am proud of myself. Like, nothing's easy, but I work hard. And
this is the importance of having like a long-term vision rather than a short-term vision to the work that you're doing.
I know. I always like, what's next? Like, I like to be like, what's next? I'm not sure what's next. It's
And by the way, the same way you think about baby shower is the same way I think about Iowa for us. It's like you always remember
Baby
that.
Shop.
Baby shop.
Calm down.
Yeah.
Iowa, they were like our very first sponsor.
Exactly.
They were your first
You
sponsor.
always remember the first brand that
You're
took a
gonna
chance
love
with
them.
you.
And now they have like giant shops in the mall. I'm like, they made it because of us. They were like online back then.
No, it is. It's not amazing. And to see, because you support each other, right?
Yeah.
And you both grow. I mean, Baby Shop probably was pretty big even
Probably.
then. But yeah, I have, they've continued to hire me. Up until a few months ago, I did a campaign with them. And it's very funny because I have campaigns with them from when I was pregnant, then my first son and I'm pregnant, then my second son. And then you see the kids growing up. So it's been about 9 years now, 10 years that we've
You
been.
guys are a family.
Yeah.
You and Baby Shop.
They are.
That's
They're
sweet.
like, you always remember them.